Welcome back to another episode of the Diabetes Digital Podcast. We just finished up our health equity series in the last few episodes. So we thought it would be kind of a fun, lighter day to day where we just answer listener questions. We had posted on Instagram, on both our Food Heaven platform as well as Diabetes Digital to get questions for you guys on, how to manage blood sugar, anything really related to nutrition. And we got a ton of good questions that we're going to cover today. And if we don't get to your question, or if you end up listening and having more questions, definitely DM us. And if we get enough DMs, we'll definitely do a second Q&A episode. But some of the things that we're going to talk about today are what are some good snack options that won't spike my blood sugar. Somebody asked about PCOS and how they've kind of struggled with their blood sugar and what are some realistic ways to manage that. We'll also talk about cravings at night, fiber, and even Ozempic. Somebody asked about, they're on Ozempic and they're having a lot of nausea and waking up with early morning hunger and what they should do about that. So it's definitely going to be a really great and informative episode, and make sure that you stay tuned until the end.
Welcome to the Diabetes Digital Podcast. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Jess, and we're best friends, registered dietitians, and diabetes educators.
Through our telehealth platform, diabetesdigital.co, we offer accessible and personalized virtual nutrition counseling for people with diabetes and prediabetes.
Visit diabetesdigital.co, that's C-O, to book your first appointment. We accept insurance and offer affordable self-pay options. Now, let's get into today's episode.
This podcast is brought to you by Hero Bread. As dietitians, we're always on the hunt for store-bought foods that we can confidently recommend to our patients. But here is the catch. Anything we recommend has to actually taste good. Life is short, and I both live to eat and eat to live. That's when Hero Bread reached out. I'd seen them in stores, but I hadn't picked anything up yet, and they had sent a bunch of products for us to try. Now, my husband and I, we love food, and we were immediately hooked. Hero Bread isn't just tasty, it's functional too. Each serving has 0 to 2 grams of net carbs, no sugar, and 4 to 10 grams of protein depending upon the product. So the Hawaiian rolls, for example, which are new and I love, they have 4 grams of protein per serving. It's perfect for managing blood sugar or adding more protein while eating the bread you love. Their tortillas are a new favorite in my house. My husband and I both love using them to make quesadillas as quick snacks. I'm a big quesadilla girl. I've also been using their bread for sandwiches. I love making a sandwich for lunch because it's easy and it's filling, but I am picky about bread. It has to be the best part. And here's the thing. Sometimes breads with health claims tend to be dry and disappointing, but not this one. Hero Bread is moist, chewy, and really, truly satisfying. Their hamburger buns are also perfect for my vegetarian patties, and the extra protein helps me hit my daily protein goals. Now, whether you're looking to manage your blood sugar or you just want to enjoy a delicious bread option with added protein and prebiotic fiber, Hero Bread is a simple and tasty option. Ready to give it a try? Visit hero.co to shop their full lineup and use our special coupon code DD10, that's DD as in Diabetes Digital 10, to get 10% off at checkout. And don't forget, they also offer free shipping for orders over $50. That's hero, HERO.co. Now, on to the episode.
All right, so the first listener question is, what are some good snack options that won't spike my blood sugar? And similar to meals with snacks, you want to try to have a good balance of carbs with protein, fiber, and fat. Of course, it's not going to be as planned and elaborate as a meal, but it could be something super simple. Like if you're having Greek yogurt, you'll pair it with berries and nuts. Or if you're going to have crackers, pair it with hummus or cheese. Or if you're going to have a fruit, pair it with almonds or walnuts, things like that. Just thinking about snacks in pairings versus just having a piece of fruit, or I don't know, what are some other go-tos, having dried fruit or having some chocolate. Even with chocolate, if you enjoy chocolate, you can have it with some nuts to make it a little bit more balanced. And I would recommend going for snacks that have at least 5 grams of protein and also some fiber, so that way you feel a little more satisfied and your blood sugar levels are more steady throughout the day.
Yeah. Okay, our next question is about PCOS. And it's very interesting because so many people do struggle with PCOS. And actually, 10% of our clients right now with Diabetes Digital have PCOS because that does put you at more risk of prediabetes, type 2 diabetes. So we thought this would be a good question to include. And they said, I have PCOS and really struggle with managing my blood sugar. What are some realistic ways to help me keep my blood sugar in balance? Now, the first thing I'm going to say is we just recorded an incredible podcast episode on this where you can go so much more in depth. This episode is with our wonderful dietitian, Nikki. She's our resident hormone and PCOS expert. So definitely check that out. Just Google Diabetes Digital Podcast PCOS Nikki. And if you can't find it, DM us on Instagram. We'll give it to you. But some of the key takeaways are that yes, PCOS does increase your risk of, like we said, prediabetes and diabetes because you tend to have a little bit more insulin resistance. And so it's really key to focus on balancing your meals with that protein, fiber, and healthy fats, as Wendy mentioned, so that you minimize your kind of blood glucose being on a roller coaster. Also, strength training is so important for PCOS. There is research to support this. It can be really helpful in managing blood glucose, sometimes even more helpful than cardio, because often people will just focus on cardio and not enough on strength, but make sure you're getting at least 2 days of full body strength training in. And then walking after meals can really help to improve insulin sensitivity. And just some practical tips. Let's say you can't even make it for a walk, right? I've seen studies that suggest even doing squats can be helpful because I also, have a history of prediabetes and I'm really trying to do these tools and things that we talk about. So sometimes if I can't go on a walk after a meal, I'll just do 10 or 15 squats. And I will also try to break up that physical activity throughout the day as well. So, sometimes we don't have an hour to do a walk in the morning, but maybe you just do 5 minutes, walking around the block a few times a day, or, take breaks and do squats a couple times a day. That can be really helpful too. I also want to point out that we think that things like PCOS and diabetes are all about what we eat and exercise, but truly stress and sleep play such a big role and they have a really huge impact on your blood sugar. I'm sure if you were to wear a continuous glucose monitor, you will notice that on the days you have less sleep or the days you are more stressed, and that stress can come not only just from, day-to-day stress, but stress on the body, being sick, I notice that my blood sugar is higher. So really trying to prioritize the rest. It's a broken record, but these things really do make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was just thinking, with the squats and things like that, especially for those of us who are just sitting all day, I have to remind myself because I can just sit at my desk for hours in front of my computer and I'm like, oh my God, my back hurts. And it's I haven't gotten up at all. And so, especially if you have those types of jobs where you're just in front of a computer, try to time yourself. Maybe it's every 30 minutes to an hour, you're getting up, you're stretching, you're doing squats, you're moving in some kind of way just to get that blood circulating. And it just feels good. It gives your eyes a little bit of a rest as well.
Yeah, I have a tip for that our friend Marley put me on to. It's called a Pomodoro timer. Have you heard of this?
Oh, I haven't, no.
Oh my God. So it's a style of focus and taking breaks. I think it works really good with ADHD brain too, because you can get hyper focused and Wendy said, you don't get up for hours. So now what I have a reminder on my calendar in the morning to put on the Pomodoro timer. Because if I don't put it on, it doesn't work. So you just go on YouTube and you Google Pomodoro timer. I think traditionally it's 25 minutes of focus with a 5-minute break, but I find that I do better with 45 minutes of focus or 50 minutes of focus with a 10-minute break. You can do Pomodoro timers where it's playing lo-fi music. And then after that 45, 50-minute mark, it starts beeping on you. And then that triggers me to okay, take a break. And it really does work. And it makes it so that's when I do my 5-minute walk breaks. Because otherwise there's no way I'm going to get up every every 30 minutes to an hour on my own.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. I think that's more realistic too. Like 50 minutes, I feel like sounds about right for me because every
Yeah.
30 would just be a lot. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
I know. I'm like,
Just always.
it's too much. Yeah, for sure. 50
Yeah.
is a good, because it's like just focus on one thing for 50. You get so much done.
Yeah.
Take a break for 10, whatever it is, 10, 5, and then move on.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So the next question is, how do I manage cravings, especially at night, without feeling guilty? And the first thing that I'll address is the guilt part. Like having guilt around food that ends up in restriction is only going to make those cravings stronger. So it's good to allow yourself to eat these foods that you're saying you feel guilty about. It's all about how much you're eating it, the timing, what are you pairing it with, what are you having before, what are you having after, are you under eating during the day, right? Because with cravings too, it's like if you're restricting, then your body is going to crave foods that are easily digested and that are going to bring your glucose up very quickly. So usually that's why a lot of people crave carbohydrates, especially like simple carbohydrates. So you have to make sure that you're properly nourishing throughout the day. You're eating at least 3 meals that are well balanced with different macronutrients. It has protein, it has fiber, it has fat. And also, you can have snacks in between, and you can have a snack before bed. Like cheese and crackers are good because they have a little bit of protein in there and some carbohydrate. You can also do like fruit with almond butter or peanut butter or something like that. Like, eating less is probably going to make your cravings worse. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind. Just make sure that you are eating enough. And I have seen that when people start incorporating more food regularly into their day, those cravings are not as dominant as they used to be.
Yeah, that is very true.
Mhm.
So, our next question is about fiber. And we love fiber. And
Mhm.
they ask, like, what are some easy and affordable ways to include more fiber into meals? I love this question because we often overlook fiber as like a really important nutrient. I feel like it's one of the most important, especially for blood sugar regulation. People often think it's about like cutting out carbs, but the thing is, when you cut out carbs, you also are cutting out fiber for the most part. So, I recommend really leaning in on frozen or canned. So frozen beans, canned lentils, those are really budget friendly and easy ways to add to meals, like kind of my favorite thing. And beans are such a great source of fiber. So even trying to get like at least a half a cup of beans, like 3 times a week is really going to be good for you. Also, chia seeds and flax seeds. Those are two things that I try to buy sometimes in bulk, even like at Costco. You can toss those into your yogurt, into your smoothies, into your oatmeal. And those are another really good source of fiber that's going to bulk up the meal. Also, pre chopped vegetables can be nice. Like sometimes pre chopped is a little bit more expensive, but when I tell you, I am so much more likely to add those veggies if they're pre-chopped than
Yeah.
if they're not. Like I've even been doing the pre-chopped garlic because it's just easier these days. Frozen too, because frozen tends to be like pre-chopped as well. Even things like frozen spinach, you can easily mix those into eggs, pasta, different stir fries, and really boost your fiber intake that way. And don't shy away from supplements if you need them. I take, and I say this all the time, like the partially hydrolyzed guar gum fiber supplement. It's PHGG, but the brand name would be like a Benefiber that is PHGG kind of based, or like I think it's called like Healthy Choice, Healthy. I think it's like Healthy Fiber, but those are also really good sources. And then my last favorite way to get fiber in is frozen berries. So like raspberries, for example, I believe have like 7 grams of fiber per cup. So I try to add a cup of frozen raspberries, blueberries, like mixed berries into my smoothie every morning. And because they're frozen, they're a little bit more affordable, and I'm able to get a lot of fiber with that meal.
Yeah, and you can always add things like flax seeds, chia seeds, psyllium husk. Like you can blend that into your smoothies as well
Mm-hmm.
for an added boost of fiber. And I also like blending walnuts, by the way.
Oh,
If
yes.
you enjoy, it actually doesn't even taste like anything. I was going to say if you enjoy the taste of walnuts, but when you blend it, it just makes it like really creamy. So that's something you can do as well. Okay, next question. What are some simple meal prep strategies for busy schedules? This is a good one. Okay, so number one, I would say batch cook. So things like your chicken, your salmon, your tofu, you can cook that in advance. I even sometimes boil my eggs for a few days and then I just kind of grab them and go. You can roast a bunch of vegetables for the week, especially in the winter. I do this a lot, and then I'll toast it in like stews, or I'll just like heat it up and have it as a side. You can also assemble things like trail mix, your cheese sticks, your hummus and crackers, like just having those things ready to go so you can grab them. Especially if you're like you have to commute to go to work. Just mentioned like the pre-cut veggies, the frozen veggies. One thing that I really like is like the frozen brown rice in Trader Joe's, because you literally like you just throw it in the microwave and that's it. And then you just enjoy it with like your protein or whatever. Something that Gabe and I were doing a lot too when we were traveling was like we would just buy a whole roasted chicken at the supermarket. And I mean, it's just like so affordable and it lasts for the whole week. And we would like just cut that up and enjoy it in like quesadillas, or like with rice and, just kind of like mixing it up so that it's not like you're having the same thing every single day.
Great tips. Somebody asked about feeling hungry shortly after eating. That is a really good question too. This can happen to me as well. And they're asking like, how do you stay full longer and keep your blood sugar stable? So it's like a very tricky thing with this because I am someone who gets full easily, but then I get hungry easily too. Like I get full quickly, but then I get hungry quickly. So I have found honestly, because I don't want to eat to the point of like stuffing myself to potentially stay full longer. It's like really uncomfortable. However, I also don't want to get hungry and then wait to the next meal. So I find that having like 4 or 5 meals a day for me works really well. So that it's like, I feel comfortably full, like, on the fullness scale, I'm like a 7 or 8. If I get hungry again in like 3 hours, like it's time for the next meal. So I find that works really well, even better than snacks for me because snacks don't really do much for me. I just would rather have a meal. So that would be like what I have found worked. But just in general, I would say it could also be that you're not adding enough of a variety of macronutrients. So definitely adding more protein, more fiber to your meals. You can add things like Greek yogurt, nuts, eggs, beans. Those are all really going to help. Even me now, like if I have an oatmeal bowl as like a second breakfast and I will make the oatmeal, but then I'll also put Greek yogurt in it to make it more filling. And I'll also put a scoop of protein powder in it to add more protein to have that satiety last, a few hours. So just thinking about what you can add. And then, like I said, looking at that balance. If you're just having one macronutrient, like let's say you're just having carbs or like you're just having a piece of toast, that's likely not going to keep you full. But the more that you add, it's going to help. And I like to think of it as like, if I have 3 different things on this plate, and this is not scientific, this is just like my own dietitian thinking, but I'm like, okay, if I'm eating a breakfast, right? And I have 3 different portions of macronutrients, like for me, that tends to keep me full for 3 hours. If I add a 4th macronutrient, I might stay full for 5 hours. If it's a snack, if it's one thing, like a piece of toast, 1 macronutrient, a carb, I might stay full for an hour. Or if it's 2, it's like 2 hours. So if it's like a, Greek yogurt and berries, like that might last me 2 hours. So that kind of helps me just kind of correlate the amount of things on my plate to how long it's going to keep me feeling sustained. And so if I want to feel sustained longer, I'm going to need more. If it's just a quick snack, I'll need less.
Okay, next question is, how can I tell if stress is affecting my blood sugar and what can I do about it? So stress will raise your blood sugar because of the cortisol spike. And so if you're noticing that you're having like a lot of fluctuations, you're not sleeping well, you have a lot of anxiety, this is probably a sign that you're stressed and that it is probably affecting your blood sugar, especially if it's chronic, right? Because like sometimes something happens, it's like an acute stressor where it happens and then you're fine, it goes away. But if you're like consistently exposed to stressors and you don't have the right coping mechanisms in place, then it's definitely going to affect your blood sugar. And so some things that might help are like just trying to practice some deep breathing, especially before going to bed, because that can also help with like improving your sleep quality. Also, like going on a walk, listening to music, working out is also really helpful when it comes to relieving stress. So, trying, and it doesn't have to be going to the gym, it could be like any kind of movement routine that you find enjoyable and being practical. Like, even if you can just do it for a few minutes a day, that can help. And there's always getting a therapist if you're able to. I feel like that is, that really helps to create a good foundation for like how to create coping mechanisms for stress.
Yeah, speaking of getting a therapist, I really like the website Alma. It kind of pairs you with therapists and they take insurance. And so I found my last two therapists, like a couples therapist as well as like individual with that app, and they've been really, really good. They're kind of independent contractors, it seems, and they just do the insurance with their providers. And so it's nice because they have very flexible schedules and you still have like your hour session, but they take insurance, which is great. So our final question is about Ozempic, and the person says that they sometimes wake up hungry at 4 a.m. or they wake up nauseated at 6 or 7 a.m. And is this a sign of low blood sugar? And I think a lot of people who are on GLP-1s can relate to this. So we definitely wanted to include this question. And actually many of our patients, because we are a clinic that does focus on like blood sugar regulation, many of our patients are on Ozempic as well, and they have similar struggles. And so a couple of things to consider. Number one is that early morning hunger, that could be due to an overnight drop in blood sugar, definitely, or it could be not eating enough before bed. So having a balanced bedtime snack like protein, fat, and fiber can really, really help. And this has been the case for me too, because sometimes I will wake up in the middle of the night hungry. And when I have like a snack, like we're suggesting, it really helps so much. So maybe if you go to bed at 9, try having that snack at like 8, or if you go to bed at 10, have that snack at 9. One that I found really works well, and everyone's different, so you can test different things, but having plain full fat Greek yogurt with a little bit of like nuts and a couple slices of banana, like that seems to really sustain me. And then I don't wake up as much, and it kind of has a variety of those different food groups. But other things that work really well are cheese and whole grain crackers, or like a lot of our dietitians might recommend, like a piece of toast with peanut butter. That seems to work really well. So just kind of test different things and see if that makes a difference. Don't be afraid to eat something closer to bedtime if it's going to help you sleep better and not wake up hungry. Because if you're not sleeping, then that's not going to be good for your blood sugar anyways. And then for the morning nausea, like this is definitely a common Ozempic side effect. But if it is paired with like shakiness, sweating, or dizziness, that could also suggest low blood sugar. So you also might want to keep something small by your bedside, like some crackers, just to kind of settle your stomach in the morning and get your blood sugar up a little bit. That can help. And then to know for sure, like my first instinct was to say, you might want to consider a continuous glucose monitor to know if it's definitely low blood sugar, because that can show you like if your blood sugar is dipping overnight or it's fluctuating in the morning, and then you can adjust your routine accordingly. And if you want to work with a dietitian who can kind of help you navigate like getting a CGM and like interpreting the data, definitely check out our diabetes digital dietitians, because that's literally what we do. We do take insurance, and we work with people who have all the conditions that we've kind of been talking about today. So you can go to our website, diabetesdigital.co, and fill out our quiz to just see what your coverage is. So, maybe working with a dietitian might be helpful, especially in this case. All right, that wraps up our Q&A. If you enjoyed this series, please make sure to share this episode with a friend or family member. I know that we all have somebody in the family who can benefit from this information. And definitely do not forget to rate and review this podcast on iTunes or Spotify. I guess Spotify, now you subscribe on Spotify. It really, really helps our podcast reach more people.
Yeah, and if you're looking for personalized, culturally competent nutrition care, you can go to diabetesdigital.co to work with one of our registered dietitians. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you're interested in nutrition counseling with one of our expert dietitians to help improve your prediabetes or diabetes, visit us at diabetesdigital.co.
Also, if you found our conversation helpful, do us a favor and rate and review this podcast on iTunes, plus share with someone who might find this helpful. You can also connect with us on Instagram at diabetesdigital.co.
And tune in every Wednesday for practical, inclusive, and culturally humble diabetes insights. We'll catch you later. Bye.